4-plussers and YouTubers to Battle Report 21. At the end of the week last week, the Dark Angels had a solid performance against a hated foe but couldn't capitalize on the victory, so they're still without power. We are surrounded by chaos to the south. Chaos Space Marine chapters occupy the pink and the gray territories, and the demons occupy the dark blue. It's time we engage the other set of traders this week. That is directly south of our shield generator. With any luck, we will dim their lights and get ours back on. We rolled the Emperor's Will with hammer and anvil deployment. It won't be night thanks to my warlord trait. Objectives are marked with the stars. We used random terrain, and I have to be honest, I'm actually becoming a fan of it. Initially I didn't quite like it, but it adds an additional element of strategy when you deploy the terrain to make it, fit your army or sort of negate some of the things that your opponents brought. So I'm actually starting to like it. I was forced to deploy first due to my lack of power station, and my opponent will be getting a +3 to steal initiative, so more than likely he's going to steal. In the two rhinos are two tactical squads that have been combat squadded into 4 5-mans in total. A Devastator squad with Warlord and a second Librarian is with him. The Warlord has Prescience and Misfortune. The secondary Librarian has Perfect Timing and Foreboding. Pretty good powers in my opinion. I think that's alright. The Razorback parked next to them is theirs, but it's empty. On the other side is a Land Raider with 2 Vindicators in tow. In the Land Raider is a squad of Deathwing Knights, keeping it fluffy. When I'm playing the traders, I gotta bring the Knights. Chad, the Chaos Marine player, realized that everything I had was deployed in such a way that the only thing that would have range in his army first turn is the Leman Russ, and I would have 4+ cover on everything. So because of this, he actually deployed back a bit. Didn't want to be in range of my las cannons until his flyers showed up to help out. His Chaos forces have a Forge Fiend on this side, Cultists, and then the Guard contingent has a Vet squad with a Lord Commissar and a Leman Russ. On the other side is his Warlord with a contingent of Plague Marines and another Forge Fiend. In reserves is a Helldrake and a Vendetta. As expected, Chad steals initiative, but like I said, he kind of, didn't like all my las cannons bristling out, so he stayed back. On his turn 1, because I outrange him, about the only thing he does is shuffles his Plague Marines to the side, and he forgets that his Leman Russ has a 72-inch range, so he actually doesn't fire it and just ends his turn 1. My turn 1, Dark Angel's Land Raider pulls up just to within the 48-inch range of the closest Forge Fiend, and the Vindicators shadow him. The Librarians cast Perfect Timing and Prescience. Let the epic failures begin. 4 twin-linked ignore cover las cannons, 1 standard las cannon from the Razorback, and 2 twin-linked las cannons from the Land Raider, and we generate a single glance, and that does not include any saves that the Forge Fiend made. It was actually just 1 glance. Not the first turn I expected. I was kind of hoping to get first blood, then turtle up and make him come to me and possibly win it with a 4-3 win. But it didn't happen, so we'll see how it goes. Turn 2, Chaos, they press forward, now with the flyers coming in automatically because of the +3 to his reserves rolls. Leman Russ and the Forge Fiend come out of hiding. Vendetta zooms in. The other Forge Fiend advances. Helldrake zooms in as well. The Vendetta is basically going to take aim at the Razorback. That's going to be the easiest way to get first blood, and it achieves it. The Razorback explodes. Luckily, there's no other casualties. In the remainder of the shooting phase, the other Forge Fiends go ahead and run forward. Dark Angels turn 2, it's time for plan B. To win this game now, I got to get Chaos off their objective. Lucky for me, their troops are all fairly bad matchups for the Deathwing Knights, and the holders at the current objective are very soft. It's a Cultist squad and a Ig Vet squad with no upgrades. So basically full speed ahead with the Land Raider and the 2 Vindicators. In the shooting phase, we're not taking the bait. You don't shoot at flyers when there's other targets out there. They're dangerous, but they really can't impact the game in the sense that they can't really stop me from holding an objective, and I've got a pretty good mitigation strategy on the Helldrake that I will explain later. So essentially what we do is we take the Devastators and we blow up a Forge Fiend. Land Raider takes a couple shots at the other Forge Fiend but doesn't really damage it. Chaos turn 3, the Flyers advance. The Helldrake gets a nice vector strike on the Vindicator, and it gets a penetrate, but I get really lucky, and all it does is strip the Stormbolter off the top, so a little luck there for me. The Plague Marines advance out of cover, but really there's nothing in range to threaten them right now. In the shooting phase, the Vendetta and the Forge Fiend combine forces to glance the Land Raider twice. The Helldrake and the Leman Russ, they go to town on the Devastators, and they end up killing 9 of them. Very effective, because my Devastators are kind of my fire center in this army, if you've watched previous battle reports where they show up. Dark Angels turn 3, we're sticking to the plan. Kill the troops, ignore the flyers. The vehicle convoy continues its advance. The first combat squad goes ahead and hops out and jumps onto the objective and splits up top and bottom of the ruins. This is part of the Helldrake mitigation strategy that I'll do at the end of the video. The Warlord goes ahead and hops in the the Rhino with the other 5-man combat squad, just to get out of there. Don't want to give up Slay the Warlord if we can avoid it. Really no need to shoot. I only have a single las cannon left, and it doesn't accomplish anything, and we just flat out with the vehicles. Time to get into his backfield and do some damage. Turn 4 Chaos. Chad can't maintain zoom mode anymore with either of the flyers and land with line of sight to anything we're shooting at for the most part. So he goes into hover mode with both the Drake and the Vendetta. The Plague Marines advance, and the Cultists back up to get away from the Land Raider full of Deathwing Knights. In the shooting phase, the Helldrake does kill the 2 Marines on top. Gotta love the multi-level ruins rules. The Forge Fiend and the Vendetta combine forces again and finish off the Land Raider with 2 more glancing hits. Kind of a bummer. I would have liked to have the extra 6 inches of movement before I jumped out and charged, but we're just going to have to maybe go to plan B2. Dark Angels turn 4. The Librarian with the Devastator decides to detach. He's going to go try and stick a crack grenade to the hovering Helldrake. The Vindicators try to close to 24 on the Plague Marines that have been advancing, but the rear Vindicator immobilizes itself in the woods. The closest Vindicator does manage to stick his shot, and he kills 4 of the 6 Plague Marines that he managed to hit. Charge, but no result from the crack grenade. It was still fun. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. If I'd blown it up, would have been some bragging rights for that Librarian. Time for plan B2. It's a long charge, 10 inches to those cultists, and it's through difficult, so instead we take the auto charge on the close Forge Fiend. We're not going to use smite mode. We're just going to go for glances, and that's exactly what we do. We get 2 glances and take no wounds in return. Turn 5 Chaos. Where'd the Helldrake go? Oh no, Vector Strike! Yeah, he decided to return to flight mode, and Vector struck and killed the Librarian. But because of my placement of the Rhinos up there, he couldn't land in the corner, so he had to kind of Vector Strike in front, and the Librarian was really his only target. It's a pretty good result for me, I think. The Chaos Cultists actually advance. They're going to charge the Deathwing Knights this turn. The Plague Marines advance, but it's about an 11-inch charge through difficult, so they're not going to really affect anything this turn. The Helldrake shoots its Bale Flamer, and he rolls a 1 to wound, fails to finish off Sarge. Way to go, Sarge. In the shooting phase, the Vendetta finishes off the mobile Vindicator, and the immobile one is pretty much out of range of everything at this point. The Leman Russ shows up again, sticks a shot through the window, and glances 1 Rhino, but does manage to explode the other that has 2 combat squads inside. The explosion kills 3 of the guys inside, 1 from one squad, 2 from the other. But my low rolling dice that have been punishing me in the shooting phase end up rewarding me on leadership. Nobody breaks, nobody's pinned. So kind of a nice little gift from my dice there. In close combat, Chad charges in with his cultists. At the end of the game, he felt this was a mistake, but in all honesty, from my perspective, it was a smart move. Because what it did is it forced me to use smite mode to make sure that I won the combat and got out, so that way I could get to his objective in case the game ended on turn 5. And it prevented me from saving it for the Plague Marines, which is what I really wanted to do. So in close combat, I kill the cultist champ and one cultist and finish off the forged fiend with a glance and a pen. The cultists break and run. Turn 5 Dark Angels, plan B2's going well. One set of objective holders is running. The other one is in easy charge range now. And the distant Plague Marines are weakened a little bit by that Vindicator shot. 2 tactical squads that were rudely ejected from their nice, safe, and cozy Rhino go ahead and spread out to give us 3 objective holders within 3 inches of the objective, and they're scattered amongst the levels of the ruins, so they should be able to withstand a couple Bale Flamer hits if the game continues, and I still have a 5-man squad safe in that Rhino with the Warlord there. No shooting, straight to close combat. We charge into the Vet Squad, they go first, and they do manage to kill 1 Deathwing Knight. Then the other 4 knights kill all 8 of the guys that were left, including the Lord Commissar. The objective is now contested, and we have line breaker. Chad rolls for end of game. It does come to a close. Final score is 4-1 Dark Angels. And to be honest with you, I think if it continues, I probably still win the game. I had a pretty good position with those Deathwing Knights. The Plague Marines were really out of place, and the Knights were basically clumped up out of line of sight from everything that was bad. Let there be light. The power station is captured. Brings my tile count back up to 9. Chad back down to 9. I think the top tile holders right now are at 11 and 10. So not far off. Still in the game. At this point, the battle report is over. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Chad, for a very tough game. I'm going to do a quick minute or two, probably going to end up being like 3 minutes total, on how I dealt with the Helldrake this game, because it seems to be a problematic unit for Marines, and I pretty much face one like almost every other game. I swear to God, everybody's got a Helldrake. So basically, I've developed some strategies which are not ingenious, but it may help you guys out, so I'll explain them. So there are 2 things that make a Helldrake dangerous. Its Vector Strike is really nasty, strength 7, D3 plus 1 hits, and then its Bale Flamer is obviously very nasty because you get no saves, no cover, and it kills Marines dead. In this picture, you can see from the position of the Helldrake that it's got very limited range of motion if it wishes to continue zooming, and it only gets Vector Strike when it's zooming. And the first thing to do when dealing with the Helldrake is to manipulate its movement. Look at where it's going to go, what it can Vector Strike, and you can move your units to basically force a Vector Strike to a strange position, or just deny them a Vector Strike. The other way that you can deny the Vector Strike is you make sure that there's nowhere to land behind you. So you see in that yellow bubble, basically what it is my guys are within 19 inches of the Helldrake. So they are in flamer range, but if you look at that bubble, there's nowhere that he can land should he fly over any of those units. It forces him to go off the table. And if he leaves the table, he loses shooting his Bale Flamer. So one of the keys to dealing with the Helldrake is dealing with that Vector Strike, manipulate their movement if you can, and try and even prevent the Vector Strike, or force them to go off the table if they use it, because that takes a turn of the Bale Flamer away from them, and in a Hammer and Anvil deployment like we had, it actually takes 2 turns away from the Helldrake, because he comes on, he can only move 36, he can't get across the table to do anything. The next step in dealing with the Helldrake is to negate the Bale Flamer. Now this is a little bit tougher, but I have 2 strategies that I use pretty consistently, and they're pretty effective. The first is vehicles. Buy yourself a cheap Rhino. It's 30 points, 35 points, and the Helldrake without its Vector Strike is not terribly good at can opening. The Bale Flamer is only strength 6, so very rarely, it's if you look at the math on it, it's like 12% that it can get you out of a Rhino. Those aren't good odds. It'll take it a whole game to destroy a single Rhino. The other thing that you can do is, and actually even with the vector strike, it's not a foregone conclusion he's going to destroy your rhino. So take those cheap vehicles and stay in them. Next, use terrain to your advantage. All right, you don't get cover. You're like, you got to be crazy. Why are you using terrain? Well, here's the thing. Templates are limited to a single level in ruins. So when you're setting up terrain, make sure you got some ruins in the terrain where you want your guys, and make sure they're multi-level, and then you spread your guys out across the levels. So right there, I've circled those 5 Marines. Now, let's say the Helldrake just hovers there and I don't do anything. I don't charge it and crack it. I don't shoot at it, nothing. It just gets as many turns as he needs of unadulterated shooting to kill those Marines. How many turns is it going to take him to kill those Marines? Well, when you look at the picture, you're thinking 2, right? Flame the bottom, flame the top. That's if he wounds everything, it takes him 2 turns. Well, technically, it's going to take him 3 turns at a minimum to kill it, assuming he wounds everything. And the reason I say that is, okay, so he flames the top or the bottom, and let's say he wounds everybody and kills them. So he kills the bottom, that's 3 Marines dead. Now on your turn, when you get to move one of the Marines up top down to the bottom. Well, now he needs 2 more turns to kill him because he can only flame the top or the bottom level of the ruins. So he flames the top, kills the Marine, flames the bottom, kills the Marine. That's 3 turns of shooting from the Helldrake. And again, that's no movement as well from the Helldrake. So if you think about a flyer, the maximum number of turns a flyer can fire is 6 in this game, and typically it's going to be more like 5, and in a hammer and anvil deployment, it's probably going to be more like 4. So 5 Marines can absorb 3 turns of shooting from a Helldrake if they're properly deployed in ruins. So anyhow, those are my 3 strategies for dealing with the Helldrake. You know, manipulate the movement in the vector strike. Go ahead and use terrain to your advantage and get yourself some cheap vehicles and stay in them. Thanks for watching, guys.